If you are thinking about weaning, but you're feeling a bit overwhelmed, you don't know where to start, and you want to do it in a way that is fun and engaging and is gentle for your baby and for you, this video is for you. Today we're going to discuss why you might want to wean, when not to wean. We're going to talk about abrupt weaning and like common recommendations for weaning that might actually not be so great. And then fun ways to wean, so that this time that is commonly so stressful for families can actually be a time of engagement and more memory building and more bonding between mommy and baby, and not a time of guilt and not a time of stress. It can be fun, so let's make it fun. Now, the World Health Organization does recommend that mothers breastfeed for up to 2 years. There are a number of reasons why you might need to wean. You might be going through chemo where you have to abruptly wean. So we're gonna go through a couple different scenarios and how to smoothly wean out of that process. Then we're gonna discuss common stressful weaning procedures that are often recommended, unfortunately. And then we're gonna discuss how to make it fun. If your baby is under a year old and you are needing to you need to wean for a medical reason and you need to do it right now. You can't do a gentle method. Here's what you can do. Hypothetical situation number 1, your baby's under a year old and you have to abruptly wean for a medical reason, such as going through chemo, because that's incompatible with breastfeeding. What do? Well, you have to source your alternative food for your baby. So either formula or donor milk, or it'd be awesome if you lived in a milk bank area and you could get milk that way. But your baby's gonna have to find a different food source, and you're gonna need to keep pumping. You don't have to pump to maintain your supply, but you do need to pump to get the milk out so that you don't become engorged and then develop mastitis or develop any other kind of painful side effect. So keep getting that milk out and slowly start to reduce the number of pumps that you're doing and the amount of pumps that you're doing over about a 4-week session. I do want to tell you, if this is your case, if you're having to stop breastfeeding very abruptly because of medication that you need to go on, you are a good mommy. You are still able to take care of your baby, bond with your baby in ways other than providing them breast milk. That is not your only source of bonding with your child. It is a beautiful food. It is medicine. I love it. I think it's incredible. And I think your body is amazing that it can make this for your baby. But it does not define you as a mother. Okay? So if this is your situation, number 1 tip is just pump. Keep yourself comfortable and then slowly start to reduce the amount of time and the frequency of milk removal to get that milk supply slower. Keep the pumping sessions up, but don't pump to maintain supply. Gradually lessen the time that you're pumping by cutting out like 3 minutes a day, 3 minutes each session. And then you're gonna start to remove 1 pumping session a day until you're finally gradually down to no pumping sessions. And that is how you slowly reduce your milk supply. Now you will, whether you're weaning a long process or a short process, your breasts are still gonna make milk for a couple weeks. Even when your baby stops feeding completely, you stop pumping completely, your body's still making milk and it's still gonna have milk in it for a few weeks after the weaning process. I think that's pretty cool. I think it's like a defense mechanism almost. Like if something happens and you were suddenly, I'm imagining back in the day, you're separated from your baby and you haven't seen your baby in so long, and then you're so worried, I'm not gonna have the food to feed my baby when I'm with them again. Then you come back together, you still have milk. And then your milk supply can increase with the increased feeding. I just think it's cool. I think the body just works so well for so many different situations and scenarios we might find ourselves in. For mummies who are wanting to wean for maybe an emotional reason, or you just don't like it and you don't want to keep doing it, and your baby is under a year old, there are a few steps in this, which is called like a novel weaning process. For 1, you need to source an alternative food group. The milk bank milk and donor milk should be reserved for families who are in desperate need of this milk. Mothers who are unable to supply breast milk to their babies, babies who are in medical distress, mummies who have passed and are not able to feed their babies. This is where the donor milk comes in. It's for families whose mummies cannot give them milk. So let's say that you have a baby that's under 1 year old and you're just done breastfeeding. You just don't want to do it anymore. How do you wean a baby? You need to go buy some formula, put the baby on formula, but keep pumping to maintain your supply for 2 weeks to see, how does my baby take to this formula? How does their tummy deal with it? Do they actually like it? Are they losing weight? Watch your baby for this time. And that way your breast milk is still being maintained to where if you need to get them off of that formula, get them back on your milk, you have that option. And if the formula feeding goes really well with them, you can gradually start to wean off your pumping, just like mommy in scenario A. How do we wean our baby who wants breast milk without just constantly saying no or making it such a stressful relationship and time and situation to be in? Number one, don't offer, don't refuse. So don't offer your baby to breastfeed. If they're emotional, if they're going to sleep, if they're struggling with something, you can hug them, you can hold them, you can read them a book. Don't offer them the milk, but if they ask for it, don't say no. Option number two is distraction. One of my favorite methods of distraction when my baby was closer to 2 years was, I knew that sometimes they were wanting to nurse for the physical comfort and for me to stop doing my tasks, right? Because I'm moving around so much, I'm getting things done. And if I nurse with them, I sit, I slow down, I make eye contact. And sometimes that's what they want from us. And so they'll want to nurse to get that one-on-one time. So instead of just distracting them with something else, I would create a different kind of us time apart from breastfeeding. So I would get a special coloring book that we would use. Or so if get a special coloring book we would use, a book that they really love that I would reserve for this time. And when they'd ask for milk, I'd be like, oh, let's create a book together. And we'd go sit on the couch and we'd read this book. So they're getting that attention, they're getting that time, but they're also getting distracted. They're not nursing. They're doing something else with us that is so fun and is affirming and is enhancing our bond. 3 is substitution, giving them an alternative drink to breast milk and maybe putting it in a special cup. Maybe having like a little tea party that you guys have together instead. And you have a little special cup and a special kind of drink that you only have during this time. And that's your tea time together. Number 4 is postponement, just delaying the feed a little bit longer. Number 5 is shortening the duration of the feed. So if you typically feed for about 10 minutes, unlatching the baby at around 7 minutes. Slowly lessening the time that you guys spend feeding. But it's the same amount of time. It's the same quantity of feeds, right? You're still feeding like 5 times a day, but now you're feeding for 7 minutes instead of 10 minutes. What you can do is put on some music and be like, okay, after 2 songs, we're gonna be all done. And that's a cue for them to realize, okay, I got 2 songs. And then you can gradually move to like, okay, it's just 1 song. When the song is finished, we're done with milk. Last one is spot weaning, which means you're removing a whole nursing session completely. A lot of moms struggle with removing the first session and the last session because 1, our breasts tend to be fullest in the morning, so we're wanting to get that milk out. And then 2, in the night session, a lot of the times we breastfeed our babies before bed. And so those 2 tend to be the most difficult to start with. So it's more recommended to do remove a midday feed instead. Now, some of the more stressful ways of feeding is abrupt weaning, where it's just like cold turkey. We're done, we're finished. Because just imagine that you had something you love doing. You really love doing it. You and say it's something with your partner. Like you and your partner always share, I love Haagen-Dazs ice cream. So if part of our date night was we get 1 tub of coffee Haagen-Dazs ice cream and we share it, and I look forward to this time and I love this time, and suddenly he's like, no, we're finished. We're never doing this again. We're done. Imagine, I'd be so mad. I would feel so hurt. I would feel confused. This is the same for our babies. If we just cold turkey it and just be like, nope, we're done. We're finished. You're not doing this anymore. You're too big for this, Imagine how they feel. We need to think about our babies' feelings and put ourselves in their shoes sometimes. How would we feel if someone did that to us? It's a commonly recommended approach. I don't like it. I don't think it's great. In the end, it is up to you. But my 2 cents, I wouldn't want someone to do that to me, so I'm not doing it to my kid. The second method is weaning by abandonment, which is go away for the weekend and then come back. The third is spicy burrito method, which is like you put something really spicy on your nipple and then you have them get hurt when they breastfeed from you. The fourth one is forcing a bottle when the baby doesn't want it. These kind of weaning methods, they cause a lot of stress for baby, they cause a lot of stress for mommy, they make the weaning process not pleasant. Your weaning process can be really fun and it can be engaging and it can be sweet and it can provide you guys with more memories and more opportunities to bond. So why not take this time, which causes a lot of stress for a lot of families, and instead, let's make it fun. And so that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about some really, really fun methods of weaning. Now, why we don't want to do abrupt weaning, right? Unless you have a medical condition, but even so, you're going to need to keep pumping. We don't want to do abrupt feeding because of a number of issues. One, it often leads to painfully engorged breast, which often then develops into mastitis. If your baby is teething and you are afraid to feed them because of biting, there are some methods that can help reduce the chances that they're going to bite you into feed. Allow them to chew on a toy or like one of those frozen chew toy things for teething before they feed. One, this numbs their gums so they're not in so much pain, but two, it gets that chewingness kind of out of them so they're ready to eat. They're not chewing on you. Biting typically occurs at the beginning and the ending of the feed, and you're watching for certain signs. Some of the signs are fidgeting, pulling away a little bit, their jaw's starting to get a little bit more tense. You're just gonna keep a pinky here just in case and just pop it in, protect your nipple, pull it out. Because when our babies get teeth and they bite us for the first time, it hurts and it is scary, and you like kind of tense up when you're about to feed them again and you're watching like, are you going to bite me? Please don't bite me. But there are things we can do to help them and help ease their discomfort so they don't use us as their chew toy. Something we don't talk about often is weaning blues. Sometimes mummies, because of the hormonal shift that happens when we start to wean, we start to develop and feel this sense of depression from weaning. It will pass. It's a hormonal shift that's happening in our bodies and it will adjust. But if you do feel this, if you feel a heaviness when you are weaning, an emotional heaviness, just understand that this is called the weaning blues, and this is very common for a lot of us to feel. If this video has been helpful in any way at all, will you give it a like and a subscribe? And just let me know if you want more videos like this. If there's anything I missed that you want me to create, like a weaning schedule, that could be another video. Let me know in the comments. Whatever you want me to make, I love to give you guys what you need, because I really believe that if a mummy understands what's happening, she has tools at her fingertips, you can solve all your problems. You can figure out what to do. You can feel confident. And my whole goal in this whole channel is that you will feel so confident as a mother, especially in that first year, that you'll start strong. Because strong and healthy mummies, they raise strong and healthy families. A lot of us feel isolated. This is your online community. I'm all about you succeeding. Welcome to Healthy Moms Club. Love ya. See you, pizza.